Good evening and welcome to the Pink 'Un Show. This week starting, of course, from Carrow Road, where Norwich City take on the Championship leaders Newcastle United. There is a palpable buzz in the air. It's going to be a cracking game, hopefully. There's certainly a game that has had goals in recent seasons. And yes, we are recording this before kickoff, so maybe this is just going to be goalless. We'll have all the post-match reaction. We'll then, of course, take things back into the studio for the usual Pink 'Un Show fun and games. But first of all, we sent Jake Watson out to speak to the fans ahead of kickoff.
Thank you very much, Michael. So yeah, Newcastle, the visitors this evening to Carrow Road. Initial thoughts on that, because we know that they're high flying and doing incredibly well this season.
I think there'll be several goals, as they're high scores, and obviously especially after our result on Saturday. So I think you'll be sort of looking for 5 or 6 goals tonight, I think.
What was it, 4-3 last time at St James's, 3-2 the back end of last season here, and 6-2. So this fixture has brought goals, and obviously 3 defeats as well in a row for Norwich. So are we worried about the threat that they hold?
No, we aren't. I think we can beat them tonight. I think we'll beat them about 2-1, I think, because obviously they're a side that can be beat. They are playing well, but so are Norwich, and I think, yeah, we'll do it tonight, about 2-1, I think.
Yeah, I suppose that is an important thing to remember, isn't it, lads, that Norwich have been playing well at the moment, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been pretty good, especially on Saturday. Unbelievable result. I wasn't expecting it. Just the Wesenhausen goal is unbelievable.
So were you here at the weekend as well? What did you make of that?
I don't know, just there were some goals that I never thought I'd picture seeing here. Wes's goal, I'm a big fan of Wes, so obviously that was a big moment, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so the last few weeks, Norwich have been flying, haven't they? In 2017, the form side in the Championship. So we're going into this game perhaps more confident than perhaps we would have been if we'd been in this situation a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be, a good result tonight, and all round. Yeah. And
what did you make of the lineup? So it's Cameron Jerome starting up front, Wes Hoolahan in as opposed to Alex Pritchard, who scored 2 goals the other day, and he's on the bench. What have you made of the lineup?
Well, I thought he'd have put out what I call him Nelson Mandela, but that ain't there. But I thought he'd have kept the same as Saturday, because we did play very well, and I thought keep the same side. But he's put Jerome in. I thought no, but yeah, we'll wait and see on that one, won't we?
We certainly will do, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
A good result for us tonight, so enjoy the game.
See you on the way out.
2-1, that's the prediction. Michael, back to you.
Thanks, Jake. I'm joined now by Lee Ryder from the Newcastle Chronicle. Lee, it's a long old schleck for a midweek game, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly a long journey. One though that hopefully can be an enjoyable one for the Newcastle fans. 4-3 up at St James's early in the season, and they'll come down here looking for a bit of revenge for what happened last season in the Premier League.
Meanwhile, Norwich are probably looking for a bit of revenge as to what happened at St James's Park. I mean, it's been remarkable how these fixtures have gone in the last few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, 20 goals in the last 3 games says it all. I think it's a bit of a battle between the 2 benches as well last season. Maybe things that said that were a little bit out of hand, but that just shows you, how big the stakes are these days for both clubs. Obviously Newcastle looking to stay at the top of the table tonight, and obviously Norwich stay in the playoff picture.
How do Newcastle fans look at what's happened to Norwich since that game and kind of appreciate how good it's been for them this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a huge blow for Norwich to lose in that way. Psychologically, they've sort of dropped out of things a little bit, got back into it, 5 games unbeaten. Newcastle will be hoping that, they don't lose this one tonight, and then something similar happens to them.
Yeah, is there an element? I mean, Rafa does tend to play things quite tight away from home. Would he be happy with the draw tonight, do you think?
I think he might be quietly, but behind the scenes he'd probably be telling them he wants to win before the game. So that's what everyone hopes for. But if you offer me a point right now, then I would take that as well.
A few injuries for Norwich. They've got a few players missing, like Ivo Pinto, Nelson Oliveira. In terms of Newcastle, Dwight Gale's on the bench, and other than that, it's a pretty strong side. I mean, who do Norwich need to watch out for tonight?
Well, I think Mitrovic scored 2 here last season, knows that he needs to play really well to keep his place with Gale coming back. So I think Mitro is definitely one to watch, and the one who will ignite the Newcastle fans as well.
And I guess the Toonami, as they've travelled down, at this point, with how well the season's gone, it's promotion or nothing. It's the top 2, surely.
Well, you would like to think so, but nothing's guaranteed in the Championship, unfortunately. Newcastle are quite capable of slipping out of this race. You can't take anything for granted. Really tough game, and one we're looking forward to watching, but also a little bit nervous about as well.
Is there a Norwich player you're looking forward to seeing or catching either? You obviously saw the goals from Saturday.
Well, obviously I know it's going to be an interesting battle with the goalkeeper, Ruddy. He's more than capable of keeping Newcastle out tonight, so that'll be one to watch.
So there we go. Thanks for joining us, Lee. Right, we're going to go and do our day job. You can now see exactly what happened tonight.
I should have seen you coming long before you come suddenly. You're to blame this time. If you wanted a gunfight, then why did you bring a knife? 'Cause I don't want to settle this score. Save your words, this world is at war with you. Right, let's be reasonable. And I just want you dead. And I would have loved her forever if you let me. You see how you try. When did your heart turn so bad? We were good friends. There will be no reconciliation tonight.
So that wasn't 0-0 then. What a game, once again, between Norwich City and Newcastle United. I tell you for one thing, that was not a championship game. And secondly, if Newcastle United don't win the championship title by 10 points this season, someone should have a word with Rafa Benitez. Still, great entertainment for everyone here. We, of course, sent Jake Watson out to get the immediate reaction from Norwich City fans following the full-time whistle. That will be with you in a moment. But first of all, let's hear from Alec Neil, Rafael Benitez, and my chat with Cameron Jerome.
A whole mixture of emotions, really, because obviously you don't expect to concede in the first minute. So that was extremely frustrating and disappointing from our point of view. I thought we looked really nervy the first 5-6 minutes of the game. Made quite a few sort of fundamental mistakes, which presented Newcastle with opportunities, which is unlike us. And then equally, I thought once we got the first goal, I thought from that point, certainly until half time, I thought we did great. You know, I thought we were on top of the game. I thought we forced them back in. We got our 2 goals. I thought our response from being down that early was excellent, because I think when you're playing, obviously, the leaders of the league at home, and they score within that sort of period of time, I think sometimes that could certainly take the wind out of yourselves. I didn't think we allowed that to affect us that much. I mean, the response was great. I thought second half, we started okay. It was pretty even. And then I thought as the half wore on, we started to sink and try and protect what we had. And the frustrating thing from that point is that we don't obviously see the game out and go on and win the 3 points. I thought it was 2 teams going toe-to-toe. I mean, I don't think any team set up defensively. I thought we'd try and sit in and hit in the counter. I thought both teams just went for it and says, my players are sort of better than your players, let's sort of see who ends up winning. And I thought it made for a real entertaining and open game. As I said before, we always go out to win the game, we don't set up to draw, but unfortunately we didn't manage to win.
Yeah, I think it was a great start of the game. We scored the goal, we have another chance, and we're doing really well. And after, we made some mistakes, and then we gave them the belief that they could get that result, and then we needed to react, we needed to respond, and I think the way that the players responded in the second half was brilliant. No, I can see every game as important, and it doesn't matter what the other teams will do. So I know that if you can get 4 points every 2 games, you will be up. So that is clear. But still, we want to win every single game. And then if you can come here and then create chances, score goals, and get a point, you have to be happy sometimes, because not always you can get 3 points. But I am quite pleased with the performance of the team.
I think based on the game it is, yeah. You know, I thought they had decent opportunities, to be fair to them, but I thought equally when you are leading, I didn't think they glaring sort of chances where you think they should have scored. And we'll be a wee bit disappointed, certainly with the 2 goals we did concede, because defensively I think we can do better than that. What it does do is it keeps us unbeaten, I think, this year. We've played a really good side. I thought the tempo, certainly in the first half, was of Premier League standard. Certainly based on all the games that I watch week in, week out, I thought it was really quick, really strong. 2 powerful teams going toe-to-toe, and I thought it was a really good tempo.
Atmosphere after that, Cameron, I mean, that was a hell of an effort. You'd have obviously wanted the win, but you'd probably take the points in the end.
Yeah, I mean, before the game, we probably took a point. We knew, obviously, it was going to be a tough test for us, but, you know, these are the tests what you want to you want to test yourself against the best teams, and they're one of the best in the division. There's no doubt about that. They've had that level of consistency throughout the season, a little bit more than what we have, and it was a good game to play in, and probably a fair point overall for both sides. And
a decent recovery given making a start like that.
Yeah, I mean it was, they come flying out the blocks, and it was a sloppy from us, sloppy defending, and they capitalised on that and got the goal, and we showed great character to come back and really press them high up the pitch and force the mistakes for which our goals came from.
Games against Norwich, between Norwich and Newcastle, they seem to guarantee goals and entertainment. I mean, once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen a stat today. There was 20 goals in the last 3 games, so I thought this could be a 0-0. But obviously, it just goes to show what both teams, try and play the right way, try and play open, attractive football. And I thought it was a good spectacle for both sets of supporters today. And everyone will go away, probably both sets, thinking a point will do both sides. Obviously it's another point in the right direction for us, and it keeps the momentum and a good feeling around the place going. And we're moving to Saturday now, and that's another big game for us. You
sort of half propped up against the wall. Is it fair to say there's not much left in the tank after that?
No, it was quite a big effort from all the boys. I thought we dug deep. And we seemed to hang on a little bit in the second half. They really pushed us and they tested us, and we stood up strong and just couldn't see out that last 5 minutes. But nevertheless, obviously a point is like I said, a step in the right direction for us, and it could come a crucial point coming into the season.
And again, a word for the atmosphere in here tonight, because that was something else compared to the rest of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought both sets of supporters was magnificent throughout. Newcastle come in their numbers wherever they go and they get behind the team. But from our point of view, our fans was brilliant. Even when we were 1-0 down, they got right behind the boys, and that seemed to spur us on. And we worked that a little bit harder, and obviously we got the rewards from that. And the fans were magnificent, all throughout the game, and obviously after the game, applauding the boys off for the effort is good to see.
And finally, heading to Burton on Saturday. I mean, I know you don't want to have dropped any points tonight, but that's going to be something that you're going to need to take 3 from, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, every game's as important as they come, and we're disappointed we couldn't see the game out tonight, but like I said, we take the point and we move forward to Saturday, and that becomes a massive game as well. It's going to be a difficult game, different game to what it was tonight, but still going to be a test like every game is. And our away form hasn't been as good as it probably should be, but we've got to be resilient and stand up to what's coming on Saturday. And I think if we do that, our quality can come through and we could potentially get the win. But we need to be prepared to work hard and do the fundamentals first and roll our sleeves up.
So how about that? We expected goals, didn't we? 2-2 against Newcastle. Let's get the fans' view. So first up,
as a Newcastle fan, I was expecting a draw, but good result in the end. Norwich playing well.
Well, after that start, was it 23 seconds? You're disappointed though that you've not won the game, even though with 10 minutes to go you were still losing.
Poor defending.
Yeah.
But hey ho, I want Norwich to go up.
But you're a Newcastle fan. Very quickly before you go, you say you want Norwich to go up.
Yeah, of course I do. I'm a Norfolk lad.
Yeah.
The old man's from Newcastle. Of course I do.
All right, Steve. Right, we'll catch some Norwich City fans now. So after that start, I presume we're still pleased to get a point, are we not?
Oh, very good. But sat back and let them come at them. Second half, always do. And should have kept going forward. I think they'd have got more goals.
And what did you make of it, little man? Did you think there was inevitability that we were going to concede with 10 minutes to go?
Not really.
No?
No.
Solid defender, wasn't it, Henry?
Yeah.
But
could be
better.
So yeah, you're blaming the officials. You're saying that earlier on, obviously we've not had the luck of seeing some of the replays yet. But there was an incident with John Joe Shelby and Wes Houlihan in the second half.
Should have gone.
Yeah.
Clear, straight in the face. Absolutely clear from where I was sitting. We were all looking at it. A few of us all went up straight away as soon as it happened, and the linesman just bottled it.
But the reaction from the Norwich players, though, from going down 1-0 so early on to then be 2-1 up, it was impressive from Norwich.
Very good.
I mean, it was all right, but if the goalie didn't make a mistake, I couldn't see us getting back in the game personally. Jerome was up front running the socks off, and the midfield was a bit lack. Houlihan did his usual, run around for half an hour, sat back, got a few claps, and then just took his foot off the gas, really, I think.
So yeah, it was 2 absolute gifts, wasn't it, from the Newcastle defence? But regardless, that does end what has been an awful run against Newcastle, hasn't it? With 3 defeats in a row, it keeps Norwich's unbeaten record going. On the whole, we're positive, right?
Yeah, very positive. But I think
there was another but.
They've got to take heart after Saturday's win, and tonight, yeah, Newcastle a big strong side, and they're going to go up.
Yeah, you fully expect Newcastle to go up.
I expect Newcastle to go
I
up.
can only say sometimes.
What's that?
What the man said.
Yeah.
Are you expecting wins all the time?
Yeah. But no, I think they turned the corner now.
Yeah.
I think they got a good side. Keep Lafferty in, give him a chance. Got to give him a chance.
All right, super stuff, guys. Thank you very, very much. So yeah, we are 2-2. Runs over.
Good stuff there with Jake and the supporters. Right, we're done from Carrow Road. When we return after the break, we'll be back in the studio for all the usual Pink and Show fun and games. We'll see you in 3. Hello and welcome to this week's Pink 'Un Show. We're back in the studio, back in the warm, and now with our delightful studio guests. They are City legend Darren Eadie and Press Association's Jim Van Wyk. And of course, we are live on YouTube right now, so make sure you leave your comments and questions either there or on the Pink 'Un Facebook page or on Twitter with a tweet to @Pink 'Un. Darren, Jim, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. Enjoy the game last night?
It is. I don't know what it is about Newcastle and Norwich. I don't think you know from the first minute to literally the last what the score's going to be. It's incredible, exciting to watch, and actually nice to see a game like that back at Carrow Road. It was pretty exciting.
I mean, there was a bit of me convinced that it was going to be 0-0 because you wonder, but I think it's 24 goals in 4 games.
Yeah,
Nuts, Jim.
Yeah. I mean, very open games we were talking about before. It was almost like played at the same tempo as a Premier League game would be, and obviously when they were scrapping for Premier League points to stay up. Both sides now, we're looking to get points to go in the other direction, and the quality of the players on display, I think, was a big difference, really.
It was, and for me, Newcastle are a class apart. Was the quality a Premier League quality game, Darren?
Well,
I mean, the defending was quite...
I think it was better than a Championship game.
Yep.
Have it that way. I'm not quite sure how good it was in terms of the Premier League. But what was really interesting to me was pre-match with Rafa Benitez talking about Norwich and how he thought they were going to be right at the top of the table and challenging for the title. And I don't think he ever doubted that they would still be pushing for it at some point. So I think he was very complimentary, even of the bad run they've had. He still felt they're a quality side, and I think 2 quality sides last night. It was a great game to watch.
I mean, as I said, I think Newcastle are a class apart in terms of the Championship. Norwich have actually competed really well against them in both games. It doesn't really matter in a game like that they've dropped 2 points, does it? It's elsewhere. We're going to talk about it, aren't we, for the rest of the season? It's that run. It's
damage done, is it? That's what it's going to be now.
Yeah, it's the acid test. It's no good, producing the results and performances against Newcastle, Brighton, Reading, Huddersfield. You've got to be able to go up to Rotherham on a cold February and come back, not lose. Or now the situation is Norwich have to pick up these 3 points home and away.
This is it.
No more margin for error.
Indeed, they're playing catch up. Okay, let's have a quick look, shall we, at the results across the week. First of all, the weekend. We'll just have a brief look at these because Sheffield Wednesday winning 3-0 was the catalyst for Norwich putting in their 5-1 victory against Nottingham Forest. We'll talk about those goals in a moment. Good win for Huddersfield as well. Reading, though, dropping points, and Leeds losing at home to Cardiff. If we have now look at Tuesday's results, it was almost a full programme indeed. Norwich picking up their draw at Newcastle. Other than that, it was pretty good for the promotion rivals. Villa losing again, this time at home to Barnsley. A surprising defeat there for Derby at home to Cardiff. So if we now have a quick look at the bottom of the table, shall we? It's
Ipswich at the top of the bottom.
Ipswich are at the top of the top of the bottom half. So good, fair play for them. Villa are going to have to start looking over their shoulders. I think they've only picked up 1 point since the turn of the year, which is absolutely ridiculous. If we now have a look at the top half, there you can see Newcastle remain top only by a point. The big thing there for me, Norwich's draw, meaning they're now 4 points adrift of the top 6 with Sheffield Wednesday a game in hand. That's the big thing. If they win that, which may well happen this week, it's going to look a pretty tall order for Norwich already, as we'd kind of feared, really, isn't it?
I'm not so sure. If they do jump above, it will be then, I think it's Leeds would be 6 points. So 6 points is very capable. Norwich's goal difference is pretty good at the moment. So, you get 2 more wins than Leeds before the end of the season. That's what you look at. One side's going to have a bad run before the end of the season. One of those are the top 6. And it's just a case of hopefully Norwich can continue the momentum of what they're doing now.
Who's it going to be then? Because, those sides all look good.
Leeds. I looked at it last night and saw Huddersfield struggling, and I thought perhaps they could be the one, but then they come back and same with Reading. So just when you think they're going to lose out, they pluck it out of nowhere again. So, but I think it could be Leeds. It could be someone like Leeds.
What do you reckon, Jim?
Oh, mathematically, there's still enough points left there to play for. Norwich could go on a run, but you're then relying on the other teams dropping points. And I think realistically, for one of the top 2 to drop enough points, Norwich to pick up on, I don't think that's going to be in the ballpark. But certainly from 4 downwards, I think, as you said, Darren, 2 games over the course of how many Norwich have got left to play, you could easily see Norwich, picking up those. And of course, they don't even have to lose those games, do they? Just a couple of draws, and it's going to be close.
You get within one win before the last 5 or 6 games. Yeah. All of a sudden, it starts to get touchy bum.
That would do it. Let's have a quick look at the stat I found out on the old Twittersville. Newcastle, they've made a habit of scoring early goals this season. The one at Norwich was their earliest. good character from Norwich to recover from that, really, because that was a sizable blow and they could have been 2 down inside the first 5 minutes. Obviously, as I just wanted to touch on the Nottingham Forest game, can I have a word on Johnny Howson's goal?
Immense.
As my son said when he saw it, top bins.
Top bins, I love it. Well, Johnny Howson's goal against Forest has been touted as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Norwich City goal ever scored at Carrow Road. And it got fitting treatment from our very own photographer. Let's take you back to Carrow Road. Bit of a bonus treat now. I'm joined by Paul Chesterton. He's the man that takes all the stills that we use on the Pink 'Un Show, on Mustard, on the Eastern Daily Press and in the Norwich Evening News. Paul, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Yeah, good. You've wrapped up warm. It's good to see.
Yep.
It's a cold one, and you have to get used to this, don't you? Because you are out here in all weathers.
Exposed for 90 minutes every week, yeah, without a doubt. Although it's warmer than Saturday, so I'm happy with that at the moment.
For some, I brought my gloves this time, so that helps. Now, as you will have seen, the game on Saturday was remarkable for 2 special goals, but also some special images of that Johnny Howson goal. I mean, as you look at that, especially the one image of him striking the ball, you look at that now and you think, well, I nailed that.
Yeah, it's grown on me, to be quite honest. At the time, I thought, I think I said before, the ball came slowly to him and I knew he was going to shoot, because he always does. But the ball went out of my viewfinder and I thought, he shot it over. Oh, well, it's gone. In that split second, you think that's gone. And the next thing I hear the crowd roar and he's run off celebrating. I've got the celebrations, checked my camera, thought, that's good, I've got that, it's sharp. And I thought no more of it, because I'm looking through a viewfinder that big. So you don't get the peripheral action. And it's only afterwards, or at half time, when your colleague Paddy at the EDP was tweeting it out like a man possessed, and all of a sudden my Twitter feed went crazy. And someone saying, oh, was it better than Hula Hands? I thought Hula Hands was good. And then, yeah, I see it on the TV and thought, actually, that was a good goal, and I'm really pleased I got it.
It was quite a good goal, yeah, it was quite a good goal. I mean, in terms of taking an image like that, what's the key to getting it? Because it's a very specific type of photography that you do, isn't it?
Anticipation for that, because the ball was headed out by the defender, which went high up in the air. I managed to see that really the only person it was going to drop to was Howson. And he does like a shot. I've got many a picture of his long-range goals. So I thought, well, luckily I managed to get the camera down on the Howson before the ball came down, so he was already sharp and in frame. It was just nice then that the defender didn't close him down enough, so that I've got the Howson, the ball, and the defender in the same frame, and no other interference, which is good. I think that's what helps make the image quite nice, because it's clean.
Where does the Howson one sit? What's your favourite?
Originally on Saturday, I thought, it's all right, it's an okay picture, but now because of what it was, and having watched the replay back several times, I think it does beat the Fashanu goal that was on Match of the Day constantly on the opening clips. Because it's such an iconic goal now, that's gone straight up there in my top 3. Nathan's celebration, John Ruddy's arm stretch celebration in front of the Ipswich fans, which I still enjoy looking at that. Yeah. I'm sure all the Norwich fans enjoyed that one as well. And this one's got to be up there in my top 3, although I did get a lovely sequence of his goal at Man City as well, the opposite goal, the dribbling one, where he dribbled from the halfway line, which I was really pleased with as well. So I think at the end of last season, I was getting a bit fed up with Norwich dejection. It was almost insert your own caption on the same picture.
Wasn't just you.
No, and this season took a bit of a lull as well, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. So in recent weeks, it's picked up, and especially on Saturday, I thought it was awesome, And it's just, I just love it. I love the club. I like what we do here. And I don't think I'll get bored of it, not yet anyway.
Great stuff there from Paul, brilliant. Right, let's hear from you guys, shall we? Yes, it's Talk is Cheap. I'm on top of it now, don't worry. We've got our first caller on the line already. This is where we hand everything over to you. Stuart Lewis is on the phone. Stuart, very good evening. Thank you so much for calling us up. What would you like to talk about? The floor is yours.
Well, many things Norwich. I guess the first thing is, I know some people are fretting about last night and that we lost a bit of ground, but I really don't think so. I think there are 2 reasons I'm not at all despondent about that. First, on their day, and they were on it last night, Newcastle are head and shoulders above anyone else in this division. A month ago, we'd have capitulated in that game, and we didn't. So we've ticked off Newcastle, and what we showed again last night was that spirit that we found from somewhere, and that may stand us in very good stead for the rest of the season.
So, Stuart, what I would ask you then, I guess you see that Norwich's fate for the rest of the season is in their own hands still.
I really believe so. If you look at that gap, those teams are going to drop points along the way. We don't have to overtake all the teams in 3rd to 6th. We have to overtake one of them. Of course, we have 3 of them in Yorkshire, and we have to go to all 3 of those, and they're obviously make or break games. We've got to get some points out of those. But if we put the kind of run together that we're capable of, we will overtake somebody there.
Hold the line there. Cheers, Stuart. Great to hear someone positive as well. In terms of that positivity and Norwich chasing teams, that's quite like how it was 2 years ago, isn't it? That's the sort of thing that's going to fuel them, Jim, I guess.
I think a lot of those teams will be looking over their shoulders now and fearing a Norwich run to the end of the season, because they know that with this squad of players they've got, if Norwich get it right, they can see that what Norwich can do to the rest of the division. The caller there said, you know, Newcastle have been head and shoulders above. Well, at the start of the season it looked like Norwich were going to be a cut above everybody else, and for whatever reason things went wrong. But when Norwich get it right, they're capable of turning everybody over on that division. The problem is now they haven't got any margin for error not to get it right when they go into these games.
Which makes it exciting. I suppose this is exciting. This is very different to towards the end of the year where it was depressing.
Yeah, I think the caller made a really good point about those games in Yorkshire. They're big, they're huge games. But the thing is, you get one of those right, all of a sudden, as Jim says, people start to look at you and they're thinking about it. Teams are already looking at Norwich and thinking, because they're not just winning games, they're convincingly playing well in those games as well and putting teams to bed quite quickly. So they will be looking at them thinking that Norwich are a threat, a real threat.
Yeah, and watching over their shoulders. One more to you, Stuart, and it's not an easy one. Why the turnaround? Why is everything sort of falling into place and they are putting that kind of fighting spirit in at the moment at Norwich?
I wish I knew. I was more tolerant of Alex Neil and the board and all of that than most people were. But even by December, even I'd come to the conclusion, you know, there was something fundamentally wrong there, and Alex Neil, as far as I could see, wasn't capable of turning things around with this group of players, but he actually seems to have done. And proud as I am of things, and much as I hate to say I was wrong, I would love to say I was wrong. And that's the way it looks at the moment.
Brilliant stuff, Stuart. Thank you so much for your call. Really appreciate that. And that's the thing. I mean, as someone who myself thought that the top 6 hopes were over, who thought at the start of the season Norwich wouldn't go up this year, I would love to be proven wrong. Yeah. I said it at the time. That's what you want.
You were very premature, weren't you, Michael?
Well, we haven't seen how it's going to pan out yet. But I mean, ultimately, that's what we want, isn't it? It's going to go well. Jim, and you're a Norwich fan, so you know the deal.
Well, that's right. I mean, I agree with Stuart. There was a point, you know, not so long ago, I was just thinking, well, what is the direction of this club going? You know, after more than 1 or 2 false dawns, you'd go and get a good result, and then you'd follow up with a terrible result, and as Darren said, a terrible performance. And I think that was the worst thing, when you saw the players of that quality turning out complete dross. It's just unacceptable, you know, in a Norwich shirt. But you have to give the manager some credit, even when everybody, and you know, even among the national journalists as well, was saying, look, you know, this guy's time is up. He's been found out, doesn't really know what he's doing. Let's, you know, give someone else who actually does know, you know, a chance to go in. But he stuck at it, not listened to any of the critics, worked hard on, and whatever he's been doing on the training pitch has suddenly clicked again. And it's something wasn't right somewhere, Darren. Was it maybe in the changing room? I think
he does deserve huge credit, Alex Neil, for getting through that period and actually performing as they are now. But also the pennies drop with the players. They seem like their mentality is different, and manager's been saying the same things the whole time. He's trying to get that across to the players, but it takes them to listen as well, and I think they have now.
We've got our second caller on the line, which is Joe Drabble. Thanks for ringing in. Joe, lovely to speak to you. What would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about Alex Neil, right? Well as I think the importance of having Johnny Howson back is the biggest thing, and I think just caught the back end of that caller there. I'm not sure if that's been talked about, but having Johnny Howson back makes such a big difference to Norwich, and I'm not sure he gets the credit that he deserves. And I think he brings out the best in Houlihan. He was excellent again last night. What a cracking match that was last night. Fantastic. So I just wondered if you agree in the studio about Howson and your views on Neil now. Has anything changed from your side?
Brilliant stuff, Joe. I'm a huge Johnny Howson fan. I think he's well on course to be player of the season again for the second time.
Try not to big him up too much. Because it always happens, doesn't it?
But it's done. There's just no speculation around Johnny Howson, which is remarkable. Because to me, he's probably as talented a player as at the club.
Well, as you know, Robbie Brady's just gone for 10.5 million. Johnny Howson's been playing far better than him all season. So it is a strange one. Fantastic player, great attitude. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. He's top class, but got to hold on to players like that.
Got to hold on to it. And he was quite quiet early on Tuesday night. but he was doing a lot of good work, I thought. He was sitting a bit deeper because he had to. He was shielding, which sometimes sort of goes a bit unnoticed. Then he bursts forward and probably could have made it 3-1.
I mean, he's the all-round box-to-box midfielder, isn't he? My only concern is if everyone is building the entire team around Johnny Howson, what happens when Johnny Howson is not available? Do Norwich have the strength and depth of someone who can come in? They may not be exactly the same skill level as Johnny, but do they have the same ability to fulfil that role that Johnny has? And maybe that is something that was missing in the squad, because however good a player is and central to the team and the focus, you can't just rely on that player being completely fit and being able to produce, you know, every week. But yeah, absolutely, you know, outstanding player.
I'm more worried about when Graham Dorrans is fit again, because that seems to be what scuppered Johnny Howson early in the season. Joe, just coming back to you, we'll talk about Alec Neil after you have your say, because fair to say you've been supportive of Alec Neil all the way through. Did you waver at any point when things got tough?
I must admit that the Rotherham game, I was close, but I was there, I sat behind him last night, and he's so passionate, you know. I just don't see how, you know, we can criticise his tactics, but I mean, this guy, he's so passionate about Norwich winning. You know, every kick he's down there, running, heading. You know, you see how frustrated he gets. You know, some of it's X-rated, but we've got to love his passion. You know, some of the managers we've had over the years, you know, we've got a good guy here. We need to stick with him. We had a shocking run. You know, we were unlucky. We had a lot of injuries around that time. Howson was one of them. Howson missed 8 games. During that time, we won 1, and that was at home to Rotherham. You know, it's a funny league. You have a shocking run, but, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. I think he needs to sort out a formation away from home. I was going to ask Darren what he thinks about Deeks last night. He looks a serious player. If we could play him centrally as like 3 centre-backs, Pinto right wing-back, one of the Murphys left wing-back, does Darren think that would ruin and detract the Murphys' influence if they played as a wing-back away from home?
Well, what a question. Joe, thank you so much. You've got a few seconds to sum it up.
I've always liked the Murphys playing wide, so you know, I'm quite happy to see him push out a bit further. And I think that's what happened last night at the Newcastle game. I think it showed a little bit of width by as we'll talk about in a little while.
Brilliant stuff. Well, great call there from Joe. Fantastic. We've got room for one more caller. I guess we're going to wait for them to be on the phone. They're not quite there yet. But we'll just go on Alec Neil as well, because it is a remarkable turnaround how the mood has changed. We all kind of thought that was that, and he deserves credit for doing that. It's remarkable. Have the players, as you said, the pennies dropped. Yeah. Have they taken responsibility as well in that?
I guess so. But maybe one thing that we overlook sometimes is this guy is still learning his trade as a manager. You know, it's not that long ago when he was out there and playing for, you know, Hamilton. He came in, a remarkable impact there, got to Wembley. He will have learnt a lot from that season in the Premier League and learnt a lot from the things he got wrong. Now, is he getting those things wrong consistently again in the Championship? But again, it's another campaign where he's learning his trade. And people said, well, you know, he's the same as Paul Lambert when Paul Lambert came in, but he's just at the beginning of his managerial career, and his mistakes are going to cost Norwich points. But it's what you learn from those and how they can move things forward.
And exactly, getting that time to do it, which the club have done, so giving him the credit. We must just go. We've got Oliver on the phone. Oliver, thank you so much. We haven't got terribly long, I'm afraid, but give us your point. Go for it.
Cameron Jerome, really. I mean, I think some of the stick that he receives is remarkable, really. Was when you watch him, he's one of the hardest working players on the pitch, and especially after listening to Canary Call last night, I was kind of gobsmacked by some of the things that were said. Yeah.
Great stuff, Oliver. Thank you so much. That's a cracking point, because he was awesome last night, and he's not always like at that level, but I would never say he doesn't try. And last night he was unplayable, really.
He was, but it's always the same thing. If you're not scoring goals, you're always going to blame your centre forward when he misses a couple of chances. But he's worked great, and sometimes that gets forgotten. I think for a centre forward, because of the way they play with one up front, the pressure's on him to score goals. Whereas there's a lot of goals coming around the team, and the work rate he does creates those opportunities, but sometimes you look at him to how many goals he scores, which is a bit unjust, I think.
He got his reward, didn't he? With
he made sure.
Carl Darley.
I might have got that one. I don't know. I'd have probably missed that one. I'd have probably skied it over the Barclays.
No issue with him celebrating before he put it in the net.
No,
really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, does it?
Should have rolled down and headed it in, shouldn't he?
Well, should he?
Bit much.
Would that have been a bit much? So not that, but you can celebrate beforehand, double arms.
Yeah, especially in a big game like that. If it had been against someone else, bottom of the league, he would have done it.
We've got a major issue, haven't we, really? If Nelson Oliveira is out for 6 weeks, it's Cam and Kyle didn't really do a lot when he came on, did he?
It is, but they only play one centre forward. If it's two they needed, it would be a problem.
This is true. Oliver, hopefully we'll get you back on next week, Oliver, if we can. We're going to crash to a break, I think, are we? Yes? No, we're not. Okay, I've got 20 seconds apparently, so hopefully I'll have something to read in a bit like that. Yes, thanks as always for everyone who got involved in Talk is Cheap, much appreciated. If you want to follow suit, then just send us an email to sport@mustardtv.co.uk. We'll be back after the break with Tactics Made Easy, looking ahead to Burton. Do not go anywhere. We will see you in 3. Welcome back to the final part of tonight's Pink 'Un Show with me, with Darren Eadie and with Jim Van Wyk. No dizzy penalties this week, although the reach of our feature has extended all the way to the very top of football. Here's a screen grab from the BBC Sport live feed this morning using Angel Di Maria's and Paris Saint-Germain's stunning Champions League win over Neymar and Barcelona last night, just so they could shoehorn in a reference to our very own Fallon de Floor challenge. The BBC, you're welcome. So let's dissect some tactical nuances then, shall we, with the famous whiteboard. It's time for this. What a lovely sting. What a lovely whiteboard.
It is.
Darren.
Although, I think this evening it is a little bit irrelevant, isn't it, really? We were going to talk about the difference between Newcastle.
We've got 4 minutes, so don't make it too irrelevant.
That's fine. But for me, I think the important part is people talk about how expansive and open the game was last night. First of all, it was because the quality was better. A really good two championship sides.
And that tempo, wasn't it? The way the ball moved, everyone.
Yeah, and the quality. And for me, the reason it was kind of very open, I mean, obviously the managers come out after the game and say we didn't start well. I mean, sometimes you just don't. You can score a goal in the first minute or the 90th minute, it doesn't matter. But every player has to prepare themselves right for the start of a game. And I thought, Klose was clearly at fault for the first goal. But the only way I think that Norwich combated what they did, they tried to sit in for a little while because Newcastle were so good. You have to do that. We see Norwich in the Premier League, they have to be able to cope with teams going at them for long periods of games. And that's the first time I think we've seen a team do that to Norwich for quite a while. So you just have to kind of belt some braces, get yourselves in there and dig yourselves out. Right, Jim?
Jim's getting his water out. Go on, Jim. He's stunned by the tactical revelation.
But also I think another Another really
He's
important
all right,
point was Wilshere, and I know he's been getting a little bit of stick since he's been here. Well, not stick, but people have been perhaps a little bit disappointed the way he started. But what it has done is Norwich have always traditionally played quite narrow, even they play with they like the fullbacks to get forward. Whereas Wilshere will naturally like to play out a bit wider. So it creates the space more in the middle as well. So I think that's what it did. It opened a lot of space in the midfield areas, which gave the other quality players in the midfield areas to create more chances and a bit more free flow. And it just the pitch felt bigger. And I think that was a lot. It's a lot to do with him, and I think the Dykes as well.
And both teams effectively, they were throwing 7-8 men forward, weren't they? I mean, even from the goal in the first 20 minutes, Norwich were perfectly matched up. It was just that Tim Closer let Perez wander off him. And
yeah, it is a case of perhaps for me that there's two teams that have come out of the Premier League that aren't quite too keen on their own defences.
Which was probably why they came out of the Premier League, isn't it?
Exactly. So I don't think there's no surprises there. Both teams got great quality going forward, but not sometimes the greatest at the back. But Dykes, I think, has been a fantastic.
Well, I was going to say, so we're giving Yannick Wilshere a bit of credit for the fact that he's helping create spaces.
Yep.
Mitchell Dykes, the one-man shoving machine, that is obviously a big part of that too.
It is, and the one thing I clearly think he's better at than Olsen. He's defensively minded more better than Olsen. I think he's a better defender than Olsen was, but he does like to get out wide. And actually, I thought Olsen used to get a lot forward, but he gets forward so much more as well. I think he's been a fantastic addition. I think the power he's got as well and the presence he has on a football pitch almost draws people towards him. So I think it opens up those channels and areas for people to work in.
And as we can see here, the fact that Jerome has had to work so hard as a one-up top, Jim, as well. I mean, that is a tough role, isn't it, if he's doing that?
Yeah, I mean, in that role, for me, it's always two things are key. The first is the movement of the striker. I mean, having a static front man was the role I used to play. You know, not moving very far and expecting everything to come straight to me, which
we kind of saw with Kyle to a degree as well when he came on.
And then obviously the other thing is the service and how well these guys can get the ball in, how well it's held up, and then played out. I mean, I'm a big fan of the figure of 8. You know, putting the ball out wide and then putting it back into the middle, and obviously. I'm sorry, Darren. Jerome benefited from being alert and showing that movement when the goalkeeper had that horrendous error. You know, Jerome still had to be in that position on the back of the defender to cause the goalkeeper to think, I need to get the ball out of here.
And great support from Jacob as well for the first goal. The fact that he.
Well, I was going to say, it also the way Newcastle came and played at Norwich creates a space more for them going forward because they do get players caught forward, so it creates those big spaces in behind. And Murph again. I think the whole team yesterday was a really good performance, like a championship performance. You know, they showed grit and determination, which is something they've lacked, for big periods of the season. But they seem to be back on track, and I think hopefully they come with a win in the sails.
Well, the fans appreciated it, didn't they? They got a tremendous reception. Thank you, the whiteboard. Thank you, Darren.
They didn't move much, but
they didn't. They don't need to. That's it. Football intelligence. That's what that was about. Right. So it's a first for Norwich City this Saturday. A trip to Burton Albion. The Pirelli Stadium awaits. And while there are no easy games in the Championship, Canaries' expectations will be pretty high for a victory. Rely on producer Jake there to make sure ex-Leicester favourite Lloyd Dyer was in that. Every picture that you can find. A fair play to Burton because they did make a really good start to the season. Their first season at this level has kind of become a bit trickier for them since, hasn't it, Darren?
Yeah, it has. I think they're actually one of the better sides when I see them play at Carrow Road. Like we'd seen up to that point. It did okay, but the fact that they're in the Championship is a massive achievement for them at the moment anyway, in terms of their budget and stuff. So they don't concede too many, but they don't score many. But you'd hope Norwich are going to go down there and again, like we talked about Rotherham, dare I say, it's a perfect opportunity to get yourself, continue that run.
Just such a different expectation level, isn't it? We've gone from Newcastle, where Norwich are taking on a real class act, get something from the game, brilliant, to this, literally, if they don't win it, the fans are going to be, what the hell?
But that's the position Norwich have found themselves in now. It's no longer when you can go to places like, they did to Cardiff the other week and think, we'll leave there with a draw. That's not going to be good enough anymore. Norwich have got no more margin for error, no more option but to come away from these places with 3 points. And, and they need to keep that momentum going to claw back, the deficit on the teams above them.
And they are going to be properly scrapping, aren't they, Burton? We had this with Wigan, where I don't know if it's quite registered, but they were in a relegation scrap. They really dug in and got a point out of the game. Probably could have quite easily won it. And we're going to get that again, aren't we, from Burton?
Would Norwich, they're not all going to be up against, but again, it's all teams that Norwich should be beating. If they want to be capable of getting into the playoffs at least. So. It will be a tough game, but I'd expect Norwich to go down there and win. But then,
yes, that's the way, Darren.
It's just every time we say that, something comes up, doesn't it? But they're on a good run of form now and picked up away from home as well. So you'd hope that they've turned that corner, especially away from home.
Yeah, and just no self-destructing, I suppose, which is what we've had away from home so often this season. Silly red cards early on and things like that.
Yeah, but again, that's a mentality you go into the game with. But I think the way they've played in recent weeks, there'll be a lot more confidence in that side as well, and that makes a huge difference in football.
I mean, it's interesting, you said it's an achievement being in the Championship. It's clearly a huge achievement if they do manage to stay up, without that sounding patronising. I mean, it's an incredible story what Burton have actually done, and the fact that it's reasonably organic. I mean, basically, every game pretty much they're playing this season is a first for them, because they haven't played any of these sides in a league game before.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, great credit to, the Norwich club as well, and he decided, to stay there and try and, build something and try and take them forward. And it is an achievement, getting up, but they won't want to view it as that. They won't want people thinking, oh, plucky old Burton, isn't it great for them to be there? They want to be at this level to, compete first at this level and eventually to be pushing on and looking at breaking into the top half of the table and possibly, going further along. So, and they will view Norwich as a scalp.
Well, I was going to say exactly that. Norwich become a massive scalp for them now, don't they? Because there are all those things that you said that they haven't played those teams before. Norwich, who in the Premier League last year, becomes a massive scalp for them.
They have beat Sheffield Wednesday and Derby this season, so they've got a couple of scalps, but I guess this would be a big one.
Two's enough.
Two's enough, please goodness. Let's bring you a quick look at what's in store across the Championship this coming week. All the big hitters are playing at some point or another. In fact, Sheffield Wednesday will have played their game in hand on City by this time next week. Newcastle hosting Aston Villa is the last fixture Steve Bruce would want at the moment, while Huddersfield against Reading on Tuesday looks like being a cracker. And don't forget, Friday Sports Extra will have all the top lines from City's pre-match press conference. You will also be able to catch the highlights on Mustard TV's YouTube channel. Just to touch on Nigel Clough, he has opted to stay. He could have joined Sheffield United or Nottingham Forest. Sorry, that was it. Which, I mean, what a draw that would have been for him. He's opted to stay with Burton.
Yeah. I mean, I think that says, possibly, maybe does that say more about the chaos that Nottingham Forest are in than Burton, because you would think that obviously he had the massive tie with Derby and he went there, but also he's good on him for showing that loyalty to a club who gave him another chance and said come on, let's build something here, because as his dad did with Derby and Forest, maybe he could be the person to build something special there at Burton.
That's what every manager wants
just not
to
hope
do.
on
of course not,
as an absolute disaster.
Well, Jim, let's put you in the dugout, shall we, for Saturday's game and flash up your 11 that you would pick
there we go.
if you were in charge. Now, we must say Nelson Oliveira is there, as we now know. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks.
I think he's probably put an extra player in there as well somewhere.
Why not?
I mean, if we talked about the about the three at the back, didn't we? I mean, Stuart, I think mentioned that. I just think as well with the width. I'm a big fan of the Murphys. I think the jury's out. Still, the jury's out on the other signing that we brought in, and Tetty there holding the line. But I just think sometimes going away from home, it's like Darren said, you've got to go out there, stamp your authority on it, and when you've got plenty of pace in the front line, and then the freedom there for Johnny and Wes to to get involved, and obviously I think Oliveira is going to be missed, but is this something that Norwich can go and play with? You know,
I
do
up top or,
enough.
I do worry defensively though. The Murphy boys done great, but one thing that has been said to them is they need to work on that part of their game, which they have done. They've increased it brilliantly, but I just worry that at this time of the state season, I don't think it's the right time to kind of change too much.
It's an interesting one because I think individually when the Murphys are on the pitch, one or the other, they do look like they're switched onto that, and Josh has sort of caught up to where Jacob was. They've just looked a bit open when both have been on the pitch together. Yet Alec Neil had both of them on the pitch at the end of the game on Tuesday night, and it didn't seem to affect things too much.
No, I think the game suited that because the way Newcastle played it left those open spaces for them. So in a tough battle, I think somewhere like Burton, which it's going to be a hard, tough game. Perhaps I think that they need to be a bit more defensive minded.
But they did play them both at Barnsley, and it kind of unravelled in the first half.
I mean, you don't, as Darren said, when things when they're doing well and things are being settled, you don't want to make too many changes unless they're enforced on you. You know, it went very well against Nottingham Forest, and with the smaller squad that he had available to him, he got a very good result with Newcastle. So probably just be minor personnel changes, and that would probably be more down to fitness, I would think, more than any change in tactic.
Brilliant. Predictions?
1-0 Norwich.
1-0 Norwich?
Yep,
That's
1-0.
enough, isn't it? Take another clean sheet.
Yeah.
Good old John Reddy.
Well, my Uncle Billy's lumped on Norwich to win. He backed the draw the other night as well, so it must be a Norwich win.
Uncle Billy. Good old Uncle, he knows his stuff. We'll hold you to that as well, Jim. Right, we are done for tonight. If you missed any of the show, don't worry. It will be on our YouTube channel and repeated regularly on Mustard. And of course, I will be at the Pirelli Stadium on Saturday to see how City get on at the Brewers. So if you see me and my little camera around, say hello. You may even find yourselves on our social media channels and over at Pinkun.com. We'll be back at our usual time next Wednesday, live from 6:45 on YouTube and at 8 p.m. on Mustard. But for now, a big thank you to Darren Eadie, Jim Van Wyk, to all our callers and tweeters, as well as producer Jake and the Mustard team, both here and at Carrow Road. And of course, a big thank you to your good selves for watching. Until next week, here's to City being able to organise themselves in a brewery. Otherwise, the bitters are on them. Good night.